I've been doing roofing since 2011, and I've been asked every question under the sun. Most people ask all the wrong questions. What I'm going to do is give you the good ones and the better ones. Hi, I'm Jim Singletary at RoofSmart, and again, since 2011, I've probably looked at and talked to 10,000 different projects. Been interviewed and interviewed the customer. Most people read on the internet somewhere, good questions to ask a contractor, and they're not terrible questions, but I'll show you what those are, and then I'll show you what you should really be asking. So let's dive in. So let's talk about the questions that everybody thinks you should ask, but that you don't really get a good answer for. One question that everybody asks is how long you do it in business. And that's great, but most of the time, what I've seen from my competition is that they just lie. So I think that in this market, half of the roofing companies that we go up against didn't exist before COVID. Many of them even more recently than that. They'll tell you what you want to hear, right? They'll say they have 20 years of experience. When we look up their license, we find that they've been around for 2 years. It's useful to ask, but it's much more useful to know how to check and see if they're lying to you. Another question that everybody says you're supposed to ask, do you use subcontractors? Well, how do you know if they told you the truth? So they say, no, we have our own people, okay? How do you know? Again, if you know how to look it up, which is in this state, you go to the state's website, lni.wa.gov/verify, put in their license number, and you can actually scroll down to the part that says workers' comp, and then you can see if they lied to you. It's important to ask so that you know if they lie. But you don't need to ask to find out the answer. You can just look it up. The reason that you want to ask and see if they lie is because, do you want to do business with somebody that lies to you? I sure wouldn't. Another one is, who's your longest serving employee? I mean, they could just make up a story. You have no way to verify that. Are you licensed and insured? Great, you found out they're licensed, bonded, and insured, but that's a pretty low bar since you could have one too for the low cost of $164. There's no test, no experience necessary. What you really want to know is what their license number is so that you can look them up and fact check the things that their salesperson told you. If you look them up and they said they've got 4 crews and it says on the Department of Labor and Industries that they've got 4 to 6 total employees, I mean, this obviously doesn't match. So either they lied to you or they hired all of those people within the last 2 months. Either one of those is good to know. So let's talk about questions that I wish everybody asked us and everybody else. Number 1, what's special or unique about my project? What we often see is basically a proposal from a competitor that's pre-printed, with checkboxes. Everything is copy-paste or cookie-cutter. For me, having looked at 10,000 different projects, that's never been true yet. There's always something special. If they can't answer that question, now you have some good information about their competence and whether they have your best interest at heart. So in addition to what's special about my job, what's special about your company? How are you guys unique? Basically, why should I hire you? Next, after you've had the company come out and evaluate your project, do an inspection, then a great question to ask is, what is something that I could cut back on without materially affecting the quality of the project? In other words, where could I save some money? I mean, I would want to know that if I was the customer. What this question gives you is two big things. First, maybe you'll save some money on something you didn't need. And then second, you get to see if that person gives you a competent answer, right? If they can't think of anything, that's rarely true, that there's nothing that you could make a little tweak here and it wouldn't really matter. The corollary to that, or the follow-up, would be, where's a better place to put that money? What should I spend more on now so that it saves me trouble later, or it's a low-cost upgrade, or a while I'm at it kind of a thing. What that tells you, of course, is the benefit, what they actually recommend. And then you also get to evaluate the quality and the competence of that recommendation, right? If they recommend something that you're like, I don't need that, right? Well, it tells you where their head's at. If they're just thinking about themselves, not thinking about you, it's a great way to know. You ask what's special about the company, what's special about your project. Ask the person you're talking to. What's your story? What's special about you? Why are you here? Why do you do this for a living? It's a humanizing thing. And honestly, I don't know if this sounds right or not, but you can kind of find out if they're a psychopath. If they don't want to discuss anything, if they don't want to give you anything about themselves and they won't open up, they're probably a manipulative personality type, right? Because they don't want you to know anything about them, but they want to know everything about you. It's not really authentic, and it'll kind of come out in a discussion about their personal story. Why do they do this? Hopefully they do it because they enjoy solving problems, or they enjoy helping people, or it's part of the family business. It's something they've always done, and so it just feels natural. Because really these questions are the kind of things you ask when you're doing a job interview, because that's what you're doing. And you don't want to lose sight of that, getting lost in the weeds about product. Honestly, if you ask just those 5 questions anytime you interview a contractor for any type of project, you're going to make a much better informed decision for yourself, and you're going to do a much better job of qualifying that contractor. So I hope this was helpful. If you want more content like this, like and subscribe, and check out our website, getroofsmart.com, and we can get together and nail it.